a relationship, they only really work if you're either facing each other or you're facing the same direction.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
And in long-term relationships, you'll go through those rough times, but you can still be honest during them.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Welcome to Openly Spoken, the podcast to help you show up, speak out, and be seen in healthy relationships. On this show, we talk about self-love, sexuality, relationship tips, including ending the cycle of toxic relationships, and healing and thriving after heartbreak. Hi, I'm your host, Celia, and I am a certified sex, love, and relationship coach, helping ambitious women with a history of toxic relationships feel deeply connected in healthy love. These are such important topics that every woman deserves, so if you could leave this show a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to help more women find this, it would mean the absolute world to me. Thank you so much for being here today. Now let's dive into the show. In today's podcast episode, we are discussing navigating the changing seasons of life within body image, self-perception, and healthy relationships. We explored the themes of aging, self-expression, the journey of personal identity, and how to navigate all of this while having healthier relationships and nurturing the relationships with people that you love. I am joined today with my guest, Holly, and Holly shares some of her great insights on getting needs met in relationships and speaks specifically to how to do that as an introvert, along with unique things that are needed within long-term relationships. And she also shares her journey of breaking free from an emotionally abusive relationship and the subsequent self-discovery that followed, while emphasizing the growth and the lessons learned along the way. Holly is a TEDx speaker, an award-winning author, and an intuitive healer. You may have heard her voice on one of the hundreds of podcasts or networks that she's contributed to. I'm also going to link her TEDx talk below. And with drawing inspiration from her journey, Holly channels her life experience into her writing and healing practices. When she's not writing, speaking, or helping others live the life they dream about, you may find her dancing, listening to K-pop, or planning her next trip to Seoul in South Korea. I hope that you enjoy this episode, and don't forget to give us a rating and a review on Apple if you are listening on Apple or on Spotify. And if you are listening or watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe to support the show. Thank you so much. Now let's dive in.
Was like, I studied journalism. That's what I went to the school for, and studied journalism and history. And I, back in the day, in the dark ages, before Y2K, when I did a news report and interviewed people, I had to find 6 sources, 3 with opposing views.
Oh.
So you had to interview 3 people to get to see where the facts they agreed, right? And not like talking points, but like, right? And then 3 on the other side. And in theory, even if you worked with someplace with a slight bias, you were really doing your best to present information.
Yeah.
That's gone out the window nowadays. It's very weird.
Yeah, it's not like that anymore. Yeah, it's very jarring to notice that when you're not in the country and you're like, is all our news propaganda?
What is at this point? Isn't it crazy?
It is crazy. Yeah.
What's crazy is, why do people empower whoever the they is? Why do they want us to not get along? Like, what? How does that make you like happy?
Yeah.
Or, like, whoever's in charge of the world right now, whatever this, like, I call it a very low vibration dynamic, right? And you kind of keep having to try to go high. And I'm like, okay, so everyone, like, what does that get you? But if you move in the world, I bet when you were like moving around, and I don't know where you were because I wasn't a stalker of any kind, like in Europe, right? When you are around other people, you actually see what we have in common. I just don't
Yeah,
know
it's very beautiful.
why culturally in America it is very okay to label so much to an extent that you alienate the people you actually wanted to connect with.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
Thought of the day.
Yeah, this is not what I thought we would talk about.
I know.
But
Where do you want to go? Let's do a hard laugh.
I do, though, think that it's very like short-term gain thinking here. Like whoever, like how you said, whoever they is, like why would they want us fighting? I think they're thinking more of short-term gain. Because one of the places I went was Switzerland. And I don't know, the society there. First, okay, one example is just the food. The food, the butter, the I don't eat dairy in America, but I tried the butter there and I was like, this is so good. My stomach doesn't hurt. And the bread, like just bread and butter, you feel nourished because it like has actual nourishment in it. It's made with pride.
It's not even, well, it's very hard to do United States versus any other country that's not like Russia or China. And they're not run the same way. Maybe they are, but do you know what I'm saying? Because we have so much diversity, and they're mostly monocultures with, like, even if they don't all look alike, mentality wise, they agree, right? For the most part.
For sure, yeah. I
Except
get what
not
you're saying.
Amsterdam. Don't get me started on that right
Yeah.
now. But I'm just thinking that like it's a monoculture, but so everything they're trying to navigate and control is on a smaller scale, even if
Especially
it's
Switzerland. It's such a small country.
right.
But then I also went to Germany, and Germany is much bigger, much more diverse. I saw so much diversity in Germany, which was very nice. But in Switzerland, you don't see, like, if I have one bad thing to say about Switzerland, it's like anytime you see someone of color, they're like cleaning something. They like don't have a good job from what I saw. I'm sure that's not all of them, but like I saw a little bit of like, oh, it's not very, I guess, like equal. I don't
It's
know.
not an American thought.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? That's my whole point. Like you like, right? So I traveled Asia last year. I'm going back. And I'm a minority when I go there, which I walk around in spaces where I'm a minority more often than other people, probably because of the things that I'm interested in. And so it's very interesting, the American ideal or the justice ideal, like everyone deserves, or life is about an even playing field. Do you think we come on the planet for an even playing field? I don't think so. And so what? So what? Like my parents grew up poor. So what? Now they're like, they worked hard. So what? Like my thing is, instead of what I see as a fully middle-aged person is, okay, so it wasn't fair. So now what? Are you going to whine about it? Are you going to alienate everyone else around you and cry? Or are you going to create community? Are you going to do better? Are you going to do the work? Are you going to work harder? I did. So why can't you? If you don't like it, get into a position of power where you can change things, but not where then you go oppress and make the other people guilty. That's the problem right now, right? Like, okay, so it wasn't fair. I used to always say when I was younger, why me? Why me? Like, really, if you've seen like the stuff that's gone on in my life, right? I know loss, like significant loss. Lost my home to a fire, lost my home to an earthquake, alcoholic father. Like, I have miscarriages. I have like changed careers, move across the country. I like significant loss. And you can either wallow in it or you can make a choice to do better for yourself. And what's your idea? Like, what is it that makes you happy? That's what I love working with people with, right? Like, all right, so if you want to be real, not perfect, which is my thing, and you are in a transition point in your life, the thing about maturing is, okay, so you have these emotions, you have to process it. You just don't get to sit in the rage or the tantrum or the mantrum or the unfairness of it all. Right? Because remember, like when they did the whole Matrix and they made it fair, it didn't work. I don't know. I guess we need some sort of thing. I think, many artists, they come from an emotional place to share their art, to express themselves. And sometimes I think they express things for other people. They see the world differently. I don't want to see the world the same way someone who's just an accountant, who doesn't know what it's like to dance, who doesn't know what it's like to be a writer, I find those people fascinating, and I couldn't be that. I would feel so oppressed by that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like when people keep talking about standards or this is fair or that's equity, right? Are we supposed to be, or are we supposed to be challenged by each other to grow?
Mm-hmm.
I think like that mentality is like what I prefer. You're in a transition point in your life. Okay, I made all these choices. I don't like X, Y, and Z. I have to process my rage, not being seen, not being heard. And how do I process that? And then what does that mean as a human? And how do I affect my community by doing whatever that I'm doing or however I'm doing it? Do I want to uplift? Do I want to disrupt? I don't know. Like those are things that like I love those kinds of conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are just like, it's not fair. Wah. Right? That's what it looks like for all those Gen Xers, right? Like to watch a lot of that.
Yes.
Like you don't like how mature are you? And what are you doing to handle that situation?
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that's a good transition into like what we wanted to talk about is, like inner child healing, mother wounds, father wounds. And you just mentioned like there's a lot of Gen Xers will, just be like, wah. I feel like there used to be such a, I guess, bad connotation around therapy and like working on your stuff or even like crying. Probably maybe not for women, but like for men, obviously there's like that, boys don't cry old saying thing. And really like you can really notice when an adult is just like an adult walking around in a grown-up body, but like they're still a child because they haven't processed these certain emotions. So they're like stuck in these, like emotionally, they're stuck in the age of a child.
Yeah, I like to say like I was a hot mess in my 20s. Like I'm not going to deny it. I hadn't individuated. I didn't understand how much I was shoving down because I had to be positive. I had to be excellent at work. I had to stand on my own. I had to prove to everyone that I could do it. And I was using that. I didn't understand it was anger because I didn't want to be angry because my father was super angry and I never wanted to be like that. But it was the realization that I had a rage and all this pain that I never articulated because it wasn't the thing we did back in the day. And I didn't have the words to express it, nor did I thought I could handle it. I didn't want to burden anyone, my family, anyone, because I could handle it better than that. Oh my God, how at 15 do you tell your parents that you were assaulted in the house? You right? Like I get goosebumps even thinking about me at that time, thinking that my sweatshirt that dipped over my shoulder was the reason that happened.
Oh man. Yeah, it's wild how we gaslight ourselves.
Right? And it was it's because I just thought I had more control because growing up in my environment, you have to control what's around you and not like I was like, let me make it better. So at one point when I was getting divorced, because of course I picked a horrible person, and I thought if I loved him enough, I can make him happy. He was artistic and I didn't value any of my own artistic abilities, right? And was like, I was at work and this woman came up to me and she's like, hey, do you know that every day at 3:00 you cry? And I was like, bitch, what are you saying to me? Because I was her boss, right? And I was like, what are you doing? What are you talking about?
Wow.
She's like, every day at 3 you cry. I think you probably need some therapy. And she gave me,
Whoa.
she's
Yeah.
like, and this is who I go to. And I'm like, I don't think I like you. What are you doing? And I took the card and I was pissed. Like, I knew how to be offended, but I didn't, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, what is she talking about? I am a happy person, right? I was like, whatever. 3:00 that afternoon, I walked into the bathroom and I was crying and I had completely disassociated. I didn't even feel it.
Mm.
How crazy is that? So I called that woman and it was like, it took me almost 9 months, she told me in hindsight, to actually say anything that wasn't protecting everyone around me.
Mm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I watch younger women doing that or fighting these big battles because really they have an internal battle, I want them to surrender the fight and feel the pain. And you don't have to have experienced the horrible things that I did to have your wounds. You could have needed love and support that your parents were just not capable of giving you.
Yeah,
Right?
which is almost all of the population, because our society isn't really set up to support parents to meet their child's needs. It's just set up to like go back to work ASAP.
Wow, that's fascinating. I don't find that. I find the opposite right now.
Really?
I think children, yeah. I'm like on some of these parenting boards and people are like, oh, my daughter coughed and got her period today, so I'm going to keep her home from school. Well, what does that teach her? Right? I think we're breeding narcissists because we're making learning how to overcome or face a challenge or get through discomfort. We're taking that away from our children. We're not letting them fail on the small things so they can learn frustration and they can learn they can get up and try again. And that is a life skill. So when these young adults come to me and they're like, all they are these raw emotions without the process, right? Then there's a lot of like blaming, but you're the adult now.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
It's not for your parents to make it all better. And then I find some of the parents are way too enmeshed. They're like married emotionally to their children.
Yeah, that's not good.
And that's not fair on the kid. And
Yeah.
that's not right of the adult, right? Like I think I posted yesterday about like I got on the Mama's Boy side of TikTok.
Oh no. I've only seen I'm not on TikTok, so I haven't seen that, but I've seen there's this Facebook group all about boy moms. And it's like they post cringe things they find on social media, like dressing up their son as Spider-Man and hanging him upside down and like kissing him on the lips, and it's like,
oh my gosh,
what are you doing?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, no, it was like, one guy brought his mom on a date, or him and his girlfriend were together for 3 years, and she's like, I either want a ring on it or what are we doing?
That's what the mom said?
And the mom came and it was like, why are you pressuring him? He's not ready.
Oh. I thought the mom was asking for a ring. I was like, what?
Yeah, I know. He's like, I need to call my mom. You're so rude. I don't know. It's just like so crazy. So I think like I have a teenager and parenting was a choice I made. To become a parent, I really waited a long time. I waited, right? And then choosing to be at home, right? That's not a choice a lot of people can make, but we made other choices based on that. Right? And so people will be like, oh, you haven't gone on vacation in a long time. I'm like, well, so I don't know. I like who I'm raising. I like who they are. I like their sass. I like that they know their value and self-worth, and that their body dysmorphia is not mine Do you know what I'm saying? Like that I am not taking that divine feminine crap load of toxicity and giving it to another girl. Like that was one of my main goals, to not like do that.
What does that mean? You said divine feminine crap load toxicity. Yeah. I'm like, what is that?
Like my body dysmorphia is wonderfully healed as I can be. I still have it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was younger and I was a dancer, I am a very hourglass figure. That is not a dancer. Well, it wasn't back in the day, right? And there was no hip hop. So it was like ballet and jazz. You know what I'm saying? Modern was like, so I take hip hop classes now. But
fun.
So
I used to take those in middle school.
So I am the oldest one in the room and I don't care. I think that that my teacher telling me that my ass was too big, that my thighs were too big. I'm like, and I see pictures of me as a kid. I was tiny, but in my head, I was huge.
Yeah, because of what you were hearing from people around you.
Yeah.
I think girls are also, more primed for body dysmorphia because of the media in general. And like the beauty standard is constantly changing and shifting and always has, since the beginning of time.
So much more inclusivity now. Like I went and saw a play. I think I took my daughter to see Mean Girls.
Oh, that's good. I've seen the play version. Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's really good. It's definitely way more inclusive than the movie. The movie's really racist. I watched it recently and I'm like, whoa, this would be canceled if it came out now.
No, but everyone needs to I want people not to take this the wrong way, but lighten the fuck up. Like one at yours, it's called satire. It's supposed to be like that, right?
It's SNL. It's like mostly SNL people.
Right. It's like when I watched the play and then there were dancers of like different sizes who were so good. I'm like, it healed a part of me I didn't even know I needed. And I'm picky because if I'm watching a professional dancer, you need to be good, right? So
yeah.
And just like, oh, look at that. Look at that. If I saw that, I wouldn't have believed her. Being assaulted also, like at 15 changes you anyway. So like I had to deal with that. But I just, I don't. If you look in the mirror, what I see, and then when I see a picture of me, the picture looks 100% different to me than what I see in the mirror.
Even now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I know, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a big person. I know that. Like I'm not like I don't. But I still see myself bigger.
Yeah.
And it's just because of all 25 years of someone telling me not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're not alone. So I'd love to know what do you do to kind of keep yourself in check of oh, this is just, a thing that isn't actually true when I see myself as really big or there's something wrong with my body.
I think that what I do is I either start the day or end the day in gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally say, oh my God, thank you for this body. I am in this body. And today it helped me dance. Right? Or it helped me express myself or, it really depends on the kind of mode. Like I don't see myself as overweight, whatever that is. I also lived in LA for almost 20 years. And in the 90s and early 2000s where lollipop heads were the thing. So your head had to be the biggest part of your body. So 00 was the size and I was a 6'8".
I grew up in LA too.
Right. So that was fat.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
I remember feeling fat too when I was a 00.
Right.
And I remember honestly being 11 and having this memory of realizing I was breathing into my belly and training myself to breathe into my chest so that I could keep my belly sucked in at 11. Because I was living in LA and, early 2000s, the belly button rings were all the rage and flat tummies. And
that was the Paris Hilton era. It was the skinny low rise. Oh, those low rise.
Oh God, the low rises.
Yeah.
I used to wear leggings under the low rise.
So forget, I'm just saying. So we're not there. I mean,
I think they
whatever.
tried to bring low-rise jeans back. I don't know if that was successful, but I remember I've been taking a break off of social media, so I don't know what's happening there right now. I'm really only on my Facebook sometimes. But I remember maybe about a year ago, all these like memes on Instagram about low-rise jeans coming back.
Guys, I don't think they have. I just bought a bunch of super high rise because after that, I'm just saying. I think that, I think, like, again, it has to be about loving who you are. So when my daughter was younger and I would be like, baby girl, what's your favorite thing about yourself today? She looked at me and she was like a toddler. She goes, my tummy, because it helps me taste all the yummy food. I was like,
That's so
I'm not
cute.
gonna, right?
That's so
Like, when
cute.
was the last time you did that? I think was on, I'm not really on Facebook. I'm mostly on Instagram. Valerie Bertinelli posted an image of her, like, I don't know if it was a bikini or her bra and underwear. And I was like, oh my God, a real body. A real body. Because she's in her 60s. So, like, whatever. So, like, I'm in a place where aging is catching up to me. And you're like, oh, I'm still the same on the inside. Your body makes a lot more noises now. And you're just like,
It's creaky.
oh, right? Like, what is going on? So I have enough vanity to stay healthy. If I eat unhealthy, I feel gross. So that's not the thing for me. I'm not a really big drinker. So, like, I don't really have those vices that other people rely on or need. And again, if you need that, then you're filling a wound with outside things. And I
I'd say you're
promise,
also avoiding feeling something.
yeah, you're numbing.
Yeah.
And I promise you can feel the feeling and survive it. I promise you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my thing. I think, yeah, bodies are funny. And I think women are still not really allowed to age gracefully, right? Men get dashing, men are this or that, but like women,
Yeah.
we're like, you have to be. I saw this other woman. She's amazing. I don't know her name, but she's a little older than me. She's in her later 50s and she still dresses like I still like to dress, right? So she's like dressed and she's like, I have gray hair and I have these spots on my face. And she's like, I don't tell me to dress my age. I dress how I feel and how I express myself. But she's like, don't tell me to age gracefully or I have to be sexy either. Like,
Mm.
what do we, like, what's that message?
But what does dress your age mean? There's no store where it's like, here's the store for women over 50. Like, that doesn't, like, Forever 51. Like, that doesn't exist.
That would be hysterical. I don't like taking that one. I think, I don't want to name the brand, but there are definitely some brands that would be more comfort clothing. That, don't get me wrong, I got my cute sweat sets, right? Like, I'm all for the like hanging, like today it's freezing by me.
Yeah.
Like all in a giant sweater. And I love that look. I don't know. I think it's, again, like, who are you? And it doesn't have to be a level playing field. So if you are a little prefer simple or not to stand out, that's great. But hot pink is my favorite color. So I'll say it.
I used to live in New York, and there was this lady there who you would see her on the subway sometimes in Brooklyn. I think she was like in her 80s. She might still be living, I don't know. But she's always dressed in all green. And her Instagram is like the green lady or something like that. And when she posts photos in her house, like her apartment is all green inside. And it's just like, that's like her thing. She just dresses in all green. I think her hair is dyed green as well.
Wow.
Maybe.
That's a commitment to the heart chakra right there.
Yeah.
Green. Just green.
Yeah. But I feel like it's for me, I feel like I see that the women being allowed to age, at least from my perspective, seems to be changing. Like I saw a photo of Julia Roberts recently, and she's like allowing herself to be gray. She's not like doing fillers and stuff like that. I feel like it exists if you look for it. That there's also this woman on Instagram named Midlife Muse or something.
Okay.
Her I was gonna say channel. Her page is really good. It's definitely like, men definitely do get more. They always have. It's always been like, oh my God, he's a silver fox, George Clooney.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's slowly shifting where like women are
I
allowed to
agree.
age.
I think women in general, we go through different changes because, right, like you are supposed to be beautiful and to attract your partner, right? You mean like whatever that is for you, right? That could be, there's 1,000 different tastes. Go do, go do that. If you choose to become a mother, motherhood changes you. You shift. You have to be less selfish in order to raise a person, right? In theory. And I think also when you become a new mom, I know for me, I went from producing film and TV to having an infant, right? I mean, I used to tell 250 people what to do on a day-to-day basis, negotiate with like SAG and like, these, and then I was like alone and invisible and covered in spit. Like, it messes with you because you are not who you were. But the work of life is, well, who are you now? How do you support who you are now? And how many years do you want to be this person? Or is this how you want to be? Is this what you thought you had to be? Is this what society or your family told you how you had to do it? But how do you want to do it? Those are the questions that a lot of people don't ask, that I live in that space. Right? But don't put me in a box, I'll smash it and dance on top of it. Right? How are you going to do your 30s? How are you going to do your 40s? Your 40s are spectacular. I mean, I was in the best shape of my life in my 40s. It was crazy. And all I wanted to do was have another baby. And I was super skinny. Now we go back to the skinny thing. I was like, this number on the scale is crazy. I would have done anything in LA to be that weight. And all I want to be is like big and round and under 65 pounds now. Like, I just want to be a belly.
That sounds like progress.
No, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying when I'm pregnant, that was my big weight. I think that then like I'm in my 50s, right? Like, and then those little cracks start coming in and you're like, how do I want to do this? And how am I? And how do you want to be? So some days I'm super introverted. I'm really reclusive. I'm in my comfy clothes and I am with a book or writing, or I'm inside. And then Saturday and Tuesdays and Thursdays, I am in a room with people much younger than me, shaking it. Right? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so like I take this K-pop dance class. I love it. And because I like K-pop. And I walk into the room and there's like, they look 9 or 12. They look so young, right? There's kids in there. There's like people in their 20s and 30s and then me. I think there's like another woman, but I'm pretty sure she's in her 40s. I don't think she has any idea how old I am. And I don't care. I'm there to hit it. I'm going to hit it hard.
I also think the younger people don't care. Like, I have a lot of friends who are older than me.
And I don't think they care, but it does take bravery to walk in.
As the oldest person.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but what I mean is the younger people, they don't think like, oh, there's an old person here.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I have friends who are older than me, and I never think twice about their age. I'm never like, oh, they're so old or something like that.
I know. Especially if they have like a joie de vivre, right? I think it's about finding what you like or you're curious about. I think one of the really other good ways to like even do exploring if you're stuck or not, if you're like have a feeling you don't know what that feeling is and you're not ready to ask for some sort of help, go try something that you used to love as a kid that you might not do anymore. Yeah. Or try something utterly and completely new that you'll be terrible. And don't judge it, because I'm not asking you to sell it. Everything in America right now is you have to monetize every part of your life. You need to have 7 million followers and you need to make money on every social media platform. If you don't, you're a failure. No, I think like I would turn the camera and make you laugh, but I bought at Michael's, there was a little crochet kit. It was for like an octopus. It's a squid. I'll call it a squid. And my family's like, you can't do that. Possible. And I did. I made it. And he's funny looking. And I liked it so much. I went and made another one. And that one's super wobbly. But I don't care. I went and bought watercolors. I got on watercolor TikTok and I was just like trying to paint a chicken. It is the funniest looking chicken. But but it took me a little time and it was like fun and it was like new and it made my brain work. I'm like trying to learn Korean, although I gave up again, but I do,
that's
but
hard.
like
Yeah.
so hard. You speak in a very different place and I can hear the words, but they don't come out of my mouth the way I
Like
hear them in
different
my
tongue placement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different like their vowels and they do a lot of things with like your tongue between your teeth.
Uh-huh.
So you have to speak in the very front of your mouth. I was talking to a woman the other day. She was Peruvian. And I was telling her when I was in Korea, all my Spanish came back, which was very annoying because I had studied Korean for months. And I was like, ¿Cómo? I was like, no, that's the wrong language. Why?
Spanish
Why?
is definitely more back
Do I? I
of
was
the
like,
mouth. Yeah.
yeah. But Spanish is
I
also
think that's why they smile a lot in their cultures. They're like happy.
Yeah, she was funny. She's like, oh, she spoke Spanish on the front too. I was like, that's fascinating. But see, like, if I woke up on Thanksgiving, did I think I'd be sitting next to someone with a family from Peru speaking about language? I don't. That's the magic in life.
Yeah. And going to Korea, like with this topic of aging, because I know in the East they see older people more as like with wisdom, or at least that's what they say here. Is that true? Like, what does your perspective on aging shift when you spend time in South Korea?
That is fascinating. What I really enjoyed was I joined a tour. I traveled solo. I left my family behind. And I joined a tour and I was very prepared the first time I went to be other, right? Because I'd seen the people who had been on the tours before. They looked a little young. That doesn't really bother me, but they looked like groups of girlfriends or friends and they looked in their 30s. So I was like, they'll probably want to go out, right? And I'm very married and that's not what I'm there for, right? So I was not looking for my mystery oppa or I just see like no. So I was prepared for that, but instead I made like 4 women friends from all over the planet. And they were 28 to 32 and I felt like I was like a slumber party every day. I giggled
How nice.
so hard all day long. So now I have one of my friends is in Boston and we have Luxembourg, Poland, and Denmark.
Very
Another girl was
nice.
from Peru.
Yeah.
Which is so strange, right? Like how many people from Peru did you meet in a year? 2. Just weird. And then, I mean, we just all giggled because we were curious about the same things. And they were all solo traveling too.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're all meeting in May. We're going to meet back up.
Oh, nice. How fun.
And so they know I have no sense of direction and they are like, I really don't. I don't. And, like north has to be up and east has to be to my right. If it's not to my right, I have to turn my body until it is because I have like no sense of direction. But being there and being with these younger people, we were on the subway one day and my friend Sarah, who's super petite, she's like maybe 5 foot, right? And I'm 5'5", so super tiny. Young, early 30s, and she walked in, I guess, and she kind of got bumped, right? But which isn't really unheard of there, right? They have different spatial things, and there are seats on a subway car, and they are different colors, and some of them are pink, and those are for pregnant people. And I think it's orange, if I'm remembering correctly. Orange seats are for older people. And it was kind of crowded. And there was an older woman, like she looked older, dark gray hair, whatever. And she like had a mask on. She's being very whatever. And she looked at me. She's like, "안녕하세요." But I didn't know she had just bashed my friend Sarah in her shoulder and sat down. And she was calling me to sit near her because she knew that I was, old enough to be in the seat, right? Oh no, Anya. And she's like, I was like, no. And she's like, her eyes were twinkling. She was like so sweet to me, right?
Yeah.
Eventually I sat down because it was crowded and I was tired. But I waited until like if anyone else needed it, right, kind of thing. So I think when I travel, because I would be an ajumma is a middle-aged woman. usually older, ajma, in South Korea, or nuna, which is older sister, like for men, or uni is older sister for girls. So they have very hierarchical culture, right? So I am older, so I was fine for me. It was really, even with my bad Korean, I was trying. I think when you try, just like any other place I've ever traveled, when I try to meet and be in a space that is your space and I am a guest, I'm going to be respectful of your rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. The thing that I knew it was hilly, but it's like Santa Monica Mountains hilly.
Oh, wow.
All over.
Okay.
There's like really the only places that are flat, like especially in Busan, which is in South Korea, is where the Japanese leveled it when they were doing horrible things there. So they literally leveled things to make it flat.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy when you start learning that. Yeah, no, I got along just fine. When I travel in general, though, people claim me.
I like we're friends now.
Yeah, meaning like when I was like traveling in France, they often think I'm French Canadian, which just I don't even know. That just cracks me up. My French is awful.
I get that a lot too, because when I tell someone that like I have a green card and I'm an immigrant, they're like, "Oh, you're Canadian," because I don't have like any kind of accent, so they just like assume I'm from Canada.
That's awesome. In Italy, they think I'm Italian. Like, usually, like, I just blend. But
Yeah.
it's because I'm going to learn what's normal and expected and culturally appropriate.
Yeah, and I think most Americans don't do that. What I found surprising is like even for me, even when I like try to be quiet, people say that Americans are loud, but I think it's because other cultures are very, very quiet.
They're more private.
They're more private. Yeah, because I don't consider myself a loud person here in America, but when I was in Switzerland, I was considered loud. Like you can
I got
tell.
shushed on the bus. Me and my girlfriend started giggling in Korea, and there's no sound. I'm like, they're very, it's
very
silent.
quiet.
Yeah, you could talk this loud, but you don't talk louder. Like you whisper and you lean over, and I don't know what made it. I mean, it's like I told you, we giggled 24/7, and I have a loud laugh, right? And I tend, like, when I laugh that hard, like even thinking about it, I don't even know what was so funny. Like I like one of those laughs, right? And I'm like, and someone shushed, I was like, sorry, and I felt bad. I felt really bad, but then I giggled harder. Then we got off the bus, so I was like, no, that's appropriate because that's their rule.
Yeah.
That's
that seems to be a rule in most countries so far outside of the US. Like that's true in Germany, it's true in Switzerland, it's true in Japan, South Korea, but I haven't been.
Japan's got a whole other, I don't know. It's got a whole list of other stuff. I'm going to be there for a day. I'm going to go
you're
to
going
Japan
there just for one day?
Yeah.
It is very close to South Korea. Are you doing like a layover
There's
or
a
something?
ferry.
Oh, okay.
It's a 4-hour ferry. I'm going to go to Fuka something.
Yeah.
And then spend the day, see a couple things, and get back on the boat and go back. I wouldn't do that in my real life. Like, that's way too much. But like, I'm there for a short amount of time, so I push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to eat it all up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's all about like what life is, right? Like I need to stimulate my senses.
Mm-hmm.
And if my introvert's too much, it's not good.
Yeah. So for people listening who are introverted and who resonate with some of the things we talked about in the beginning, like the body dysmorphia and kind of like needing to process emotions, why would you encourage those people to travel?
I think there are many options to honor who you are and not feel alone.
Yeah.
Right. So there's plenty of groups and things you can do research online before you start. Like what I love about my girlfriends is they know I won't share a room because I am not a morning person. And I'm also married and have a family. So I want to check in with my family, and I want to do that alone. I want a bathroom alone. Like I just don't really, for the first week and a half that we're traveling together, I probably will share, but when I start the other tour, I won't. Like I just won't. But when I first met everyone, I think there were 8 people total on the tour. I said, please don't be offended when I don't speak in the morning, or because I'm just really quiet and it takes me time to warm up.
Yeah.
And another woman I don't want to say everyone's names, another woman in the tour, she was like, me too. So what would happen is every morning before we started walking to wherever we were headed, she and I would be to the side of the group, not speaking, but together.
Sitting together.
While everyone was big and loud and talking about what was going to happen next. You can find the way you need to do it.
Yeah.
And then do it. I also hit a wall usually around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And I also need to regroup then. And now my friends are all like, so we know you need some privacy. So when we're doing it alone, you just give us a signal. See what I'm saying? So if you just ask for what you need.
Yes.
It shouldn't really be too much for people to give.
Yes.
And if it is, then don't travel with those people.
Yeah.
But it's okay to make your own accommodation. And what I know I need is not your problem. Right? So I'll just handle it. I don't need to make a scene or a noise about it, but it is really good to take care of yourself that way. And you can do things quietly. Like I love museums, right? I'm a huge fan of art, and I think it tells the story of people's history through their expression in a way that how could I possibly know?
Yeah.
How could I possibly know what that's like? How could I possibly know that you only had ink? What was that like? That's where my brain goes, right? So they were bored. And then so they were outside in the cafe at this one museum. And for me, when I see a piece of art that is 20 feet by 20 feet, right, is massive. No, I'm going to stand there for a little bit.
Same. I like to also go up real close and see each individual brushstroke and just be like, wow, it's just a collection of individual brushstrokes that created this huge thing.
Yeah. There was this mountain painting. What city? I think we were in was it Gyeongju? Maybe. But there was this smaller art museum, and they were very particular which way you walked through it. There were arrows, there were people pointing, don't mess, you got to follow the rules. I'm like, okay. And so we came into this room, and it literally was half the room. This is, and they're like, they popped their head in and walked out. I'm like, no, I'll be here. I'll see you upstairs. Peace out. Because to me, the vision to do that, to express that, what's hidden in that, I don't know. For me, it's all of the above. So I felt that way even when I was in Spain, and there was an artist I had seen back in the day when there were magazines, and Cecily Brown. So you probably maybe people nowadays would be like, you only see it on your phone. And then walking in and seeing that it was, 24 feet by 16, and I just broke down in tears. I was like, this is so much more than I thought it was.
Yeah.
And it was part of my honeymoon, actually. My husband loves architecture, and I like art. He's like, are you going to be in here for a while? I was like, yes. Yes, I am. He's
I'll be outside looking at the building.
That's exactly what he did. And I just sat in this room startled because I'd only seen them inches, and it was so much bigger. And she has many layers. There's quite a lot of eroticism in her art. Well, then it was, I don't know about now. So it looks like you're looking at this crazy kind of jungle thing. But if you keep looking, you realize the layers on top are people. And then you're like, whoa. I could like, I love that. And I think, being a creative person, it's inspiring.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And also if you're an introvert, just start your day the way you need.
Yeah. And know that like you're allowed to do that. And it's okay to do that. And you're not being rude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I thought they might be going to clubbing or bars at night, and then I would just like crash. But they really weren't those kind of people. And for me, I didn't know if I would ever get back to Asia. So for me, I like spend every moment of every day where I was like just taking it all in. Yeah.
I'm glad you get to go back.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I have to count down on my phone.
Yeah.
152 more days before I go.
Wow, yeah, you're really counting down. Yeah. But I get it. That's how I feel about Germany. I want to go back.
Do you really? Like, what was the thing that made you go there?
I was born there.
Okay.
And my mom and I moved here when I was a toddler and just overstayed our visa. So this was my first time being able to go back in like 32 years.
Wow.
I just got my green card this year. So that was why I went.
Like, do you know, like, I have one favorite German word.
You have a favorite German word?
Mm-hmm. Do you speak German at all?
Yeah, I do.
Morgenmuffel.
Morgenmuffel? I don't know what that is.
It basically is, don't talk to me until I'm done with my coffee. No, it's just like, I'm not a morning person, basically is what it means. Not a,
Morgenmuffel. Oh, interesting.
You'll have to double check, and maybe I've been saying it wrong.
I was wondering if you would say Eichhörnchen, which is, it's just like it sounds funny to say, but it just means squirrel. Eichhörnchen.
No, Morgenmuffel. I follow a content guy, he's German. He's like, your German word of the day is whatever he'll say. I was like, your German word of today is Morgenmuffel. This means a person who's not very happy in the morning and prefers that you leave them alone. I was like,
you're like, that's me. I feel so seen.
I feel so seen.
Yeah.
I feel so seen. Yeah. I'm not nice if you start talking to me either. I mean, to my family, if a stranger, I would be perfectly polite-ish, but
yeah.
Like, what part of you know me forever? Do you know?
Yeah.
Also, even with my daughter, I had to make sure I let her know that my mood is not because of her. She can't fix it. And it's just me warming up in the morning. I just need to warm up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very healthy to teach your kids.
Yeah.
Because
someone's reaction to what you need to say can hurt you. It can be surprising, but it's not your job to fix it, correct it, or make it easier sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think those foundational things, learning it from your parent really helps you in the future when you have your own friendships and relationships.
Yeah.
Romantic relationships. Yeah.
Learning to speak what you need, because I think so much of life is figuring it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do I need? How do I want to be? What is important to me? Right? Like if you told me like 10 years ago the things that I love and am interested in now, I probably would have been like, crack smoker. No, that's not. What are you talking about? No. You're so weird. I'd be like, yes, I am. It's fine.
You did mention earlier that you were in a relationship and like it wasn't the right one. I'm curious what for you was, since I like to talk about relationships on this podcast, what was the like pivotal learning or aha moment or thing that you think helped you have healthier relationships?
I think for me, so interesting. So I had a starter marriage, right? That's what I call it.
What is that? Is that when you get married when you're like in your 20s?
Yes. 23 to 28.
Okay.
We lived together. We moved in together like a month after I met him. Okay. And the reason why I decided to date him is I fit in his pants.
Oh, I mean, you told me about this. Like you had the same pant size. Yeah.
Right. He was super tall and skinny. I was like, there's no way I fit in those pants. And I did. I was like, oh, I guess I'm staying. I mean, they're the dumbest choice.
So weird.
So, yeah, I mean, we have growth in our lives is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I was 23. I thought he was super artistic. I met him on a set. He was an art director. He was getting divorced. He was 7 years older. And I just thought he was everything I wasn't.
Uh-huh.
And then he was actually emotionally and mentally abusive. But because I had grown up with an addict parent, he was too. So he's what I was used to, even though I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
So there came a point where I realized I had given up everything, and my therapist explained it in a way where he picked at me for 5 years until I was like nothing left. And then I called his mother, who I'd like to tell everyone on our wedding day told me I didn't have to do it.
Oh, wow.
And she wore white. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, it was so crazy. Like, I think she was definitely trying to warn me and help me.
Okay.
But her way was not good. So when I decided to leave him, I called her, I was like, I can't do it anymore. They're like, there's nothing. She's like, no, I understand. She was so nice. Like, it was crazy.
Wow.
We separated, and then I was single. I mean, like, I dated and messed around, but I wasn't really in a relationship for years. And I had to like fill all my own holes. And I had to realize that I couldn't be a workaholic, and I couldn't not be creative, and I had to stop giving everything that I was away. Like loving someone, this is one of my Holly's healing tips, which is giving is good, but giving yourself away isn't. And I had to learn not to do that. And then I can't deal with a liar. Like, you lie to me, I'm pretty much done. Like just if you don't tell me the truth, then you don't let me make a choice of what I can manage or not manage. Like, it's a whole thing for me. So in my earlier 30s, I realized like really what it was that I wanted in a relationship, that I think the world will hand you chaos, that you need someone that you can really speak plainly to. A relationship is never 50-50. They only really work if you're either facing each other or you're facing the same direction.
Mm-hmm. I love
and
that.
In long-term relationships, right, because mine's over 20 years, is that you'll go through those rough times, but you can still be honest during them.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. I think knowing that when it gets hard, you have to put in the work or pause. And those are things I don't think people really discuss. My kind of relationship isn't the kind of relationship my mother needs, nor will it be the kind that my daughter needs. I love like a cat. I am like all sweet and cuddles and like, oh, love you, love you, love you. Let me bite you and scratch you a little bit. I'm there. And then leave me the hell alone. And then I'll be back, right? But I'm communicative. I don't cut you off. I'm not gaslighting you. I'm not negating and I'm not cold. It's just that introvert or that creative part of me also needs attention.
Yeah.
And so that is how it works for me. I think, I think relationships have to mature too. I'm teaching my own child that you can play house in your 20s, but don't get married. Because I want you to go out in the world and try 3 careers. I want you to travel if you can. I want you to figure out who you are and what you want and what you don't like, and who are you not in my house, and who are you and what is your house like, and what do you need your house like. I need my house to be comfortable, right? My mother needs her house to be beautiful, right? There's a difference, right, in like aesthetic. Like I mean, I like my own taste, and I have art everywhere. People are like, why do you have all this art? I'm like, I was single a long time. I bought art. It's what mattered to me. Right? I'm not a stuff kind of person. Like, but I like art. Like, I don't know. I think that is what you should do. And then in your 30s, you find someone who sees the world in a way that supports you and vice versa. My husband and I go about the world very differently, but he's my champion. Right? I don't know if you ever saw us in a room. First of all, he's 6'5". He's a giant, right? If you saw us, I don't know that you would put us together just by like that kind of thing and how he moves around in the world that way. But we're super honest. So when my mom visits, she's like, I can't handle your communication.
Oh, man.
Right? Because she likes to wrap things. Those would be like my tips in like figuring out what I needed in a relationship. I needed honesty, direct communication. You cannot cheat on me. And I'm psychic, so I'll know. Right? So like that's the best thing. That doesn't put the fear of God in you. I don't know. Like those are my lines that I can't forgive.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing those.
Yeah. It's okay to have them. And you know what? If you come to a place in your life where you have to amend that, that's fine. Right? That's okay. But don't compromise your own feelings of safety. That would be a place that you need healing in.
So I'll ask you a question that I ask every guest. And it's actually two questions. The first one is, what does self-love mean to you?
Creative expression.
Yes. And then what is your favorite part about being a woman?
Oh, that's a good one. I loved being able to have a baby.
Yeah. You also mentioned earlier, we could stop recording if you'd like. And I could ask you this question off recording. So let me know if you don't want it recorded. I can cut this part out. You did mention that like you waited a long time to have children, and I'd love to hear more about that. Because I have always wanted kids, and within the last year, I'm like, no, I don't think I want kids. And like me and my husband are like, okay, let's just wait. Like, let's just like wait and like not think about it for a little bit. Because we still have time. I'm 35. I could still have,
you're totally fine.
So I'd be curious to know like did you think you weren't going to have kids, or did you just wait a long time, or like,
this is what my whole TED talk is about.
Yeah, I remember. I listened to it.
I always thought I'd have 3.
Okay.
Like I grew up I got a brother growing up. I always wanted, I don't know why 3. I have always been maternal.
Same.
Like, right. Like, so as a young girl, I loved dolls, right? I had that yearning. Babies loved me. Like, people hear me say that, they're like, no, they don't. But no, you put me in a room, if there is a baby, their eyes make their way to me, and like I feel them.
Yeah.
Like I feel them.
Babies and animals for me.
Just so yummy. Babies just make my insides glow. Like they're so warm. Like I just and then they leak all over you. Sorry. So for me, I am not traditional. I don't even know that I necessarily even believe in marriage until and unless you want a family. I think there is something to the family unit that is kind of vital. And I think the breakdown of that has effects. I don't think you should be with someone who doesn't love you, get divorced, like all that stuff. But there is something about the balance of masculine, feminine, yin and yang, like the different ways of doing things, learning communication, sticking through, like all of those things that you learn non-verbally when you're in a family dynamic. I knew, especially after my starter marriage, that I didn't want to have a child with someone who wasn't a husband, right? So then,
sure, I've had the same thoughts before.
Right. And yeah, I don't know if I never got married again, would I do it on my own? I don't know. I didn't have to answer that question. I might have a different answer if I was single and still had that burning desire within me. So I can't answer that at all. But for me personally, when I married my husband, I wanted to make sure that the marriage was going to last. and children change a marriage.
Yeah, for sure. I bet.
Right. So, I mean, we could do a whole other talk on that. So for me, I wanted that. So it's my one very traditional value. So then I got pregnant in my late 30s, 38. I was pregnant, had her at 39. And I really had a beautiful pregnancy. I really enjoyed the experience of it. And so for me, that's why I waited. Like I just took like what I wanted and waited on the larger scale of, what can I handle?
Yeah.
And I was living in LA then. So, being a mother in LA, and I already told him once I became a mom, I wanted to be home.
Yeah.
Because no one was going to raise my child but me. I'm very like full stop. Even now, like I shift my work schedule. Because I think it's important that I show what support looks like and boundaries, and I'm listening to you, and there's consequences, like all of that. I think I want to raise a good human.
Yeah.
So I think for me, those were my choices. A consequence of waiting till I was older. Even though I got pregnant 3 more times, I could not carry any of them. And that messed with me super big time. Like I was like, how can I dream of these children? How can I see these babies and then not have them? And then I did some healing on that. And the boy that I kept seeing, the baby, my son that I kept imagining, came and saw me. How would you call them? More as their soul. This makes me cry every time. And apologized and said, I thought when I was at my worst that I wasn't being able to carry another baby because they already knew how much I loved my daughter. And then there would be not enough love for them. And like that broke me. And then this spirit came to me and said I was never supposed to come, but I loved you so much and I loved being loved by you so much that I snuck in to get some.
Oh.
And that really healed me.
Yeah.
Right? That really healed me. They're like, oh, sorry I did this to you. It wasn't supposed to be, but I loved being loved by you.
Yeah.
So I came in to get some. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. I think being an older mother it has advantages.
Yeah. You're definitely more emotionally mature, more established financially, hopefully. Yeah, I definitely see that because my parents had me when they were teenagers. So I definitely can. I always noticed like when I would go to friends' houses and they had like older parents, I'd be like, your parents like listen to you? They like help you out when you make a mistake instead of like grounding you right away and not listening to what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's completely different parenting.
I also think younger parents, younger women, like women in their 20s who have babies, like early 20s, you're at advantage at my age. The kids are out of the house and grown and you have all this whatever.
Yeah.
But for me, you don't get to have that period of exploration and figuring out who you are. You
when
might
you
have
kids young, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like you might have the same burning desire I did, like to have, and you might have fallen in love young and have someone that can make all of that kind of work. But when you become mom, like I said before, your identity is going to shift a little.
Yeah.
So do you have time to do all the stuff you want to do or be who you are? Have you actually individuated, figure out who you are? Because I also work with a lot of women who married young and had kids young. And now in their 40s, they're like, who am I? And I'm not happy.
Yeah.
And I've been living what I thought I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's like, you have to figure that part out. Is it what you're supposed to do? It's what you want to do. Why do you want to do it? When you have kids later, I think you've answered a few more of those questions.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. I mean,
Or maybe not.
but
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't
feel
want
like
to
we always think we have the answer to questions, but like none of us really knows. Like no one has their stuff together. I don't think so. I feel like we sometimes we think we do, but we really don't because we never know what's going to happen.
I think life is about growth and change.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's always going to change. It's not going to stop. Yeah. It's a hard choice.
Like, do you want to say how you're feeling about it? You're just unsure, or?
I mean, to be honest, my heart would love to have a child, and I've always been maternal, always loved, dolls as well. I always dreamed of having 5 kids. Not going to do that now because I've stayed during the pandemic. I stayed with a friend who had 3 kids, and I'm like, okay, 3 is too much. I just want 1, maybe 2. And then that went down to 1, and then that went down to like, getting old enough to really understand the world a little bit more and looking around and being like, oh, I don't know if this place is a good enough place to bring someone in. Like,
yeah, I get that.
That's how I feel right now. And then it's also such a big commitment energetically, emotionally, financially.
Yep.
And, just like the time freedom that you don't have anymore. Like,
it's just a shift.
It's a huge shift. Yeah. So, but like,
I would say the first 5 years are, if you are at home, like if you're not if you're a working mom, it's a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, all those exhausted, like those tired days, I just think of those little like baby kisses and hugs, or the little video of her holding up a lunchbox going, da, da, like, no, for me, that was well worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, if you, for you, like I'm reading you just a little, if you get too logical, then you're disconnecting from your heart.
Yeah, I know, but I think I'm afraid to follow my heart because then I'm like ignoring all the realities of like, first of all, how expensive a birth is in the US, that I could die during birth, like that I could have health problems from birth, and like there's just so many things.
I can't argue with that. I think that I'm like, I chose this time to be down, but I don't know that it's ever perfect around here.
For sure. Yeah.
So what
That's
do you
why
want
I'm just
create?
gonna pause and just like right now I'm honestly 99% no, but I'm at 1% of me is like I might change my mind.
Yeah.
And that's my husband and I are like, we're a no right now, but we know that no isn't yet completely
because you're
final.
sitting in too much fear. You're just sitting in too much fear.
I think this is the ironic thing about parenting is like, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I think I'd be a great mom and my husband would be a great father and we have a great relationship. I think all the people that are in that position that would be great parents, because they'd be great parents, they really think about it a lot. And a lot of those people end up being child free. And I think that's the ironic thing about it. Like, there are a lot of kids that exist where it's just like, oh, oops, we got pregnant. This is what we're doing now. Like, it's not really fully thought out, which is kind of ironic. Yeah,
it is. You're a product of that, right?
Yes, I am. I am. In this trip, I went to my grandmother's house and like my grandmother's like, this is the bathtub where your mother told me she was pregnant with you. She was laying in this bathtub. Yeah, it was really cool.
That's a good story, though.
Yeah, it's a good story.